Is the Pope really going to give some women a vote? Is a belief in God a prerequisite for being a moral person? Let's do views.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry on drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? And who's on the Views on the News panel today? Well, we have Guy Otten from Manchester, England. Thank you for coming, Guy. And David Orenstein from Manhattan, New York. Thank you, David. Nice to see you.
My pleasure.
And Dr. Ty Wells from Tennessee, on the borders a bit. We're close to Kentucky, somewhere there.
Never happened.
Thank you. That didn't get recorded. I hadn't pressed the right button. So the people watching this won't know I've just been invaded by children. Asking for money, of course. You know. yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what you meant by pounds. I was like, I haven't got a pound. I'm like, what does that mean? You look like you haven't gained anywhere. You're all right.
Yes. Yeah, well, you could hear me, but the audience won't ever know.
Well,
what that was
you know what they
about.
say in America, kids can't live with them, can't abort them.
Oh, no.
yeah. Well, only in America, too. Anyway, starting out with item number 1. You may remember that back in, was it August 2021, the Allies left Afghanistan to the now ruling Taliban, and there was a horrible scene at Kabul airport, including a bombing which killed 170 civilians that were trying to get on planes, to fly out. And also 13 US soldiers were killed as these people were trying to flee the country. Well, there's an update. The Islamic State group mastermind, who's thought to have planned that bombing, was killed. Actually, some weeks ago, but it's taken time to confirm his death, so that's why it's news this week.
Mm-hmm.
So here we've got the Taliban and the Islamic State, both Muslims. What's going on?
Can I ask, how he died?
How are we?
How did he die?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I just didn't catch what you said.
Was it like a military operation, or did he try to blow up a hot dog stand and then that blew up?
We have no information about how he died or even his name.
Mm.
But the US said they had determined through intelligence gathering and monitoring of the region that the leader had died. And they didn't provide any further details on how.
Was he killed because he didn't kill enough people?
I don't know that he was killed. He may have died of natural causes. We just don't know. But we do know that he's dead.
I mean, this is the extraordinary thing. It's hard for us to distinguish theologically between the Taliban and the IS. They both are extreme, violent Muslim versions. And the fact that they're killing each other is interesting. But it's what they do, basically.
Right.
I'd like someone to explain to me what the difference is.
Maybe before you even get to that, I never want to be in a position where I'm celebrating that someone got killed, because that would only make me as bad as people who are doing the killing.
Here.
I mean, I think there's terrible things that people do, and I'm glad when they get, a justice, or if they get a punitive measure handed to them, or if they go to jail, or if they get fined, or if we recognize it and we feel bad together, we can grieve together. But I'm never happy that someone got killed. In my mind, that's particularly as a non-believer, that's like, okay, well, that's one person who isn't considering about the repercussions of their actions. Mm-hmm. I want to hold myself to a higher standard than just, someone's dead, and instead just say, well, that person can't cause any more harm. If anything, I can find solace in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
No,
We
I
don't want
like
to say someone is dead whooping. Of course not.
Yeah.
The
Right.
thing that strikes me here is that this illustrates, and I think David, as an anthropologist, you might have something to say about this. This illustrates what religion does. It turns us into little tribes, divisive little tribes, who all think dogmatically that we're the only right ones.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to divide people, certainly religion can be used very easily to create a situation where the other, even if you speak the same language, even if you have share the same cultural history, just a slight difference in dogma is enough to cause a fatwa. And it doesn't require much based on religious grounds, because all you need is a holy person, an imam, or depending on the religion, a rabbi or a priest or a clergy, to say that those people over there are the wrong ones,
Right.
and the rest, as they say, is history.
Can I add a little something to that? Right
Sure.
now, what's going on in America
Sure.
is something called the NFL draft. I don't want to hear anything from Guy or John. It's a momentous occasion. It revolves around the sport of football. Yes, American football. Australia calls it football too. Deal with it. But the cool thing about it is they have it publicized on TV, and there's this whole pop and circumstance of just like they'll say we're first round draft. We're gonna pick Tyson DeClentis, and it's like some young black kid in a suit comes up. There's fireworks going off. He's shaking hands with business guys, like white dudes, old black guys. He's going down a hall. There's like this one old owner of the team, old white guy. He's like hugging him. They're doing the handshake thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's like someone just found their long lost son or something like that. There's crying in the audience, and people in the audience are fans of like every other sports team in all of America, which is like Texas all the way to New York. Like we're all coming together to celebrate basically a young black guy and another man hugging each other, different colors. It's a beautiful thing. If you don't even follow sports, it's a beautiful thing. And in my head, sports is a very divisive thing. It's the sort of thing that can make people in California divide themselves based on what side of a bridge you're on. If you're the Oakland Raiders fan or a San Francisco fan, like there's things like that. But it can also put people together, and it can do some amazing things to getting different people from different cultures cheer for the same group of people or the same spectacle. But what we don't see in religion is that togetherness. We still see that divisiveness, and the only togetherness is when you're inside the group, and it reinforces that. And so what I say is what we see from sports, where we know it's tribalism and we know it's fans and people fighting each other, we also know that can get people together too. I would love to see religion take the next step and go from beyond just divisiveness and we're better than you, and to the message of, hey, we're all here together. Let's all celebrate things that are outside of a religion too. You never hear that.
Well, you get that.
You won't be surprised to hear that I've got a theory as to why that's the case.
Yeah.
Sorry, David. I'll bring you in a minute, okay?
No worries.
I've got a theory. I've got a theory about why that's the case, and it's because of two things. One is that we accept sports have rules, and everybody knows them. Everybody abides by them by agreement. So there is an overarching community there, even though within that community we've got the division between my team and your team. So that's one thing. And the second thing is religions not only don't have an overarching set of agreed rules, they all have their own just different rules, but they're not real. I mean, in sport you can see one real man contesting against another real man, and religions don't have any realism. They're just about mythical things in the sky. And so that brings about the possibility of even greater, deeper argument, because there's nothing you can say. You can't look at this and say, this is the real case. You can just make up stuff as you like. That's my idea. David.
David, I want to hear.
Well, the only point I was going to make was that there are people of varying religious faiths who do search for deeper meaning and understanding, and we can't discount people who do that. The question I always have, challenging anybody who tries to use their religion as a way to get there, is why do you even need to put um, that barrier in there? Like, why do you have to do it in the name of a god? Why can't we just do it in the name of humanity? Because that, I think, is not only cleaner, but it takes away less of the tribalism that we tend to,
Yes.
whether it's sports or whether it's religion. I mean, you see that
Yes.
in sports, can be soccer and bowling leagues and darts and everything else. I mean, I love sports as an anthropologist, because you see people put on costumes, they
Yeah.
paint their face the color of their sports teams, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
those secular rituals become very religious like, because there's such
Yes.
an adornment of the team, you know,
Yes.
and then the reviling of the other team and the opponent, you know. So you see those competitive elements there. But if we circle back to, do we need God to be good, or faith practices? The answer is absolutely not. It's in our DNA to
Yes.
not need God. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
I
Thank
like it.
you. Brilliant. Yeah. So moving on to item number 2, Iran. Now, you know that they've had this uprising for months now. Well, part of it includes punishing celebrities who backed the anti-government protests. And apparently the BBC has seen a document that was leaked, which is dated just 6 days after the unrest began. And the document sends a list to the economy ministry. I think that means, you know, the the hardliners. A list of 141 well-known figures, and I mean top actress Taraneh Ali Dousti, football legend Ali Daei, and the instructions given to the economy ministry was to investigate their tax returns and take action against them.
Wow.
In other words, we're going to find
Doc-
out some trivial thing that you've done and punish you out disproportionately.
Sounds like the Nixon administration. Yeah, I mean, one thing you can't blame these clerical autocrats about, they are thorough. They're going into every, they're not lackadaisical in their oppression.
Just what you need, detail-oriented theocrats.
Yeah. So these poor artists, sports people, social media influencers have had economic sanctions, travel bans, and even detention over the past 7 months for supporting the protesters' calls for basic freedoms. Isn't that lovely? Yeah.
Today, I mean,
meanwhile,
I won't go into it.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, like, that's a very white collar. It's a white collar approach to trying to find a reason to get someone into trouble. Because you think about, like, if it was the mafia, they'd just be like, we got to make a problem disappear. They don't go like, we got to investigate Tony's tax records and figure out if he misappropriated funds back in 2014. It's like, that's just such a boring threat, is all I'm saying, for autocratic, government. I'm not impressed. Try harder.
Yeah. Chicago gangsters would be ashamed of this business, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's how they got Al Capone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, going over to Pakistan now, in the eastern city of Faisalabad, a woman known as Sana Ullah declared herself to be a prophet. She had a nasty outbreak of prophethood, and a mob gathered and demanded that she should be lynched. So the senior police had to get involved and make an arrest. And guess who they arrested?
Oh, obviously for provoking a breach of the peace.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
the woman.
I mean,
Yes.
it is a bit of a pastime they do, is going around lynching people for religious reasons, and obviously declaring yourself a prophet is completely out of order. God knows how Joseph Smith or L. Ron Hubbard would have managed in Pakistan.
Right.
But,
Good point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But did they arrest her to keep her safe? Like, in other words, because if the mob would have got her, they would have killed her. Did they arrest her to, in some way try to keep her from being killed? Or we don't know.
I couldn't tell you. I do know that there's a video showing a mob and a police van and her being bundled into it. And the mob does look very angry. So maybe there was, an element to protect this
For her
poor
own
prophet
protection.
woman.
I mean, there was a
It could
case,
be.
was it last year, where somebody was arrested in similar circumstances, and the mob broke into the police station, dragged the person out, and lynched them anyway.
Yes,
So,
that's right.
I mean,
Yes.
was she a Christian or was she a Muslim? Because if she was a Muslim, she should have known better. Well, she should have known better anyway. But
No,
I mean,
Right.
The weird thing about mobs are you don't satisfy a mob. So like if the police come and take them away, the mob's not going to be like, oh, okay, she's gone now. All right, back to work, Kevin. How's the dentist going? It doesn't just like shut down. They look for another target. And here's me, my craft thinking. I'm thinking you could scream out loud, I'm a prophet in Pakistan, but Pakistan's a big place. It's not like, I mean, like you should see pictures of what it looks like. It's a really large area. Not everyone's just going to get up, drop everything they're doing, and run at you all at once. Like that had to take some coordination. Maybe there was already mobs kind of in the environment somewhere else and being like, hey, we hate this falafel. And the other guy was like, I don't like this guy. And next thing you know, it's like, we need to hang out. We're mobs. You're a mob. Hey, you want to tackle some lady? Why do you want to tackle her? I think she might have said something last week or like that works for me. And next thing you know, you just have this giant festival of people angry.
But
that happens immediately. You don't feel like a prophet and it happens.
Well, if
mob
anything,
behavior seems to be a national sport over there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's here too. Let's be honest. It's in America as well. I'm just saying all the elements for getting people together takes coordination and messaging. Like if a group of people are that sensitive to one story that they will immediately just show up, that's a marketing opportunity that capitalism can get its hands on. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I bet the ice cream van was round.
Company. I mean, she's in good company. I mean, a religious mob, looking to kill you or make you pay for your ideas joins the likes of people like Hypatia,
And
who was
Jesus.
killed by a Christian mob in Egypt, only because, she used reason and thought the world, thought it was a heliocentric Earth,
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much, especially if you're a religious mob, because with religious mobs, it's about, well, you're not just insulting me, you're insulting my God, and I'm going to defend why God would need defense is another issue. But I'm going to make you pay for insulting my God.
Let's also look at it this other way too, because we're obviously really skeptical. But what if this was actually a prophet and it was just Allah testing the waters to see, okay, how can I?
You mean but Ty? You'd have to be promoting the idea that God had lied, because Allah made it very clear, or somebody made it very clear, that Muhammad was his last prophet.
Yeah, but Allah can make the rules, so he can break the rules. He's the one true.
He's the God who can do anything he likes.
He write the rules. We can break the rules.
Yeah.
You're right.
You rule, I can break the rules. Then
Speaking of which, speaking of breaking the rules, I'm going to deal with the item that I headlined before we played the intro to the show. The Pope. For the first time, he will allow women to vote at an influential global meeting of bishops in October. They're holding a synod, and Previously, women have been invited, but only as observers. However, in this historic move, 5 religious sisters will have voting rights. Woohoo!
I think it's a slippery slope.
Nothing like
having female popes and female bishops before you can blink an eye.
Nothing like the Catholic Church moving right into the 19th century.
I know.
Yeah. At full speed.
At full speed, right into the 19th century.
There you go.
Oh dear.
Now we go back 42
We have endless
years.
fun doing this, don't we?
Yes, we do, yes.
Sorry,
42 years ago. Don't worry. 42 years ago, in Paris, in a synagogue, there was a bombing. And a lot of people 4 people were killed and 38 others were wounded. And the court in Paris has just convicted a Lebanese Canadian university professor of carrying out the attack. They decided that this man, who is now 69, planted the motorcycle bomb. And the man, he's called Hassan Diab, has called his situation Kafkaesque. And he's refused to attend the trial, but that didn't stop the judges giving him a life sentence. They argued that it was beyond possible doubt that he was behind the bombing. Meanwhile, his supporters condemned the trial as manifestly unfair. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Only 42 years late.
Well, I mean, it is possible that people can be caught and convicted correctly, especially with things like DNA evidence. I mean, almost every week, an old murder case is reopened because they found some DNA, and then they look for the person who it matches to, and a conviction follows. So it's not impossible, and it's not automatically unfair. Obviously, we don't know all the details. But, if he has been caught and correctly convicted, that's fine. Yeah. It's an outrageous thing to have done. Yeah. Even if now he wouldn't do it again, he's perhaps matured or something. Yes.
Well, it's like Sirhan every year since 1968 going up for parole in the assassination of Bobby Kennedy. But in this case, in the U.S., the law is there's civil law and there's criminal law, and they have different levels of what evidence you need for there to be guilt. Like in criminal law, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. In civil law, it's the preponderance of evidence. So there are 2 levels of how much evidence you need to accuse somebody and convict somebody of a crime. So I don't know what that is in France, but it's interesting to see what it is their evidence is, and
the French do have a different legal system, and they're looking for I forget what the expression is, something different from what we're looking for. As you say, there's beyond reasonable doubt, and then the balance of probabilities.
Yeah.
But and the French have a different way in which they're trying to actually get to the truth in some way. I'm not familiar with the French law.
It's called an inquisitorial. It's inquisitorial as opposed to accusatorial. Yeah,
that's it.
And
yes.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, the inquisitorial system is used in the UK as well in tribunals. I think it's a good system, but obviously nothing is foolproof.
No,
that's interesting.
No, indeed. Yeah. That's why we need appeals courts, because judgments can be unsound.
Yeah.
Anyway, you may remember last week we talked about a cult in Kenya, which managed to persuade its followers to starve to death. on the basis that they would get to heaven quick. Yeah. Well, there's an update to that. You remember they were directed to. You remember they were directed to a grave in a forest. Well, they've exhumed it. 47 bodies, including children.
Death by means of what? Starvation, all, or was there any blunt force trauma?
Yeah.
Follow up.
Yeah.
Is that just where they were hiding the bodies?
When the police went in. Yeah. When the police went into the cult, they found 15 members. It's called and I want to put quotes around this, the Good News International Church. And yeah, I know. And when they invaded the cult, they'd been tipped off that this was going on. And the police went in and they found 15 very emaciated people, and they rushed them to hospital. Only 4 survived.
You know, the crazy, was that a Christian? Was that a Christian sect?
I'm wondering whether there was any coercion or control exerted alongside, well, there must have been, because, it's a pretty hard thing to starve yourself to death. I mean, were they denied any food and water as well or something,
I don't know.
And kept away from it and controlled in some manner? I don't know.
But yes, I think it was a Christian cult. Ty.
So if I was emaciated and was one of those 4 survivors, I can still wear a cross on my driver's license, but I still can't wear a pirate's hat.
No,
right.
That's crazy.
No, I'm afraid not.
That's literally.
They do have the church leader, though. They've now got the church leader in custody pending a court appearance.
And can I assume that the church leader is rather well fed?
Yeah.
I've got no information about that. But I do know that Friar Tuck wasn't misnamed. that may not travel. It might be.
Friar Tuck
no, it wasn't. No.
Not misnamed. Yeah.
That may not travel. I'm referring to Robin Hood's pal, Friar Tuck. In the Forest of Nottingham.
We know. No, you could have made it Friar Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then we'd been like, "Oh, it's a double entendre."
Yeah.
Yes. Never thought of that. Sorry. Meanwhile, down under, the former Governor General Peter Hollingworth, who committed misconduct when he was Brisbane's Archbishop by knowingly allowing paedophiles to remain in the church, has been declared fit for ministry if he apologizes to 2 victim survivors.
Well, I mean, his crime is basically what the entire Catholic Church is doing in the first place. So it's like a murderer exonerating another murderer.
I think this is probably the Anglican Church again, isn't it? Not the Catholic Church, or is it? I suspect it's the Anglican.
Yes.
Anglican.
It is. Yes. Anyway, Dr. Hollingworth has accepted the findings and has said, I made mistakes and I cannot undo them.
Oh, God.
Meanwhile, one of his victims is distressed because she says, let me find that bit. She says, it's here somewhere. She says she's outraged that he was allowed to retain his holy orders following misconduct, proven misconduct. Or am I mixing him up with somebody else? Yes, it's the next event, the next item. Let me move on to the next item, because this is a similar story.
Just before you go, when you say ex-Governor General, was he the Governor General of Australia or something? I don't know.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And also Hollingworth is the name of the lake that's about half a mile from where I live. So unpleasant connection there. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah.
Richard,
Well, I'll sort out my misconception, because in America, Philadelphia, in the Diocese of, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia moved a Catholic priest, Kevin Barry McGoldrick, to the Diocese of Nashville, where he became chaplain of Aquinas College. Now, excuse me, there's a lawsuit against him because it alleges that he was transferred in the knowledge that he had a history of sexual abuse. And the lawsuit accuses the whole archdiocese and other members of the archdiocese of being named. And the accuser is a victim of that priest's abuse back in 2017. She's now a 27-year-old, known for the case, for the purposes of the court case, as Jane Doe. Mm-hmm. And her quote is, "To know he should never have been at Aquinas College, and he was put there, and I was put in harm's way knowingly, was perhaps the most traumatic." Mm-hmm. That's her quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So well, this is a case that's going on.
$billion lawsuits aside, that doesn't look like the mode of operation by the church doesn't really change much.
No.
You know, it's still an old boys club, and they're still going to push their leaders around, even though in every state in the union, in every country, there is grave evidence of historic and ongoing physical, sexual, emotional abuse of parishioners. And it will not end. It does not end with litigation. It's clear that even if you find people guilty of the most heinous crimes happening in houses of worship by people who are supposed to be leading flocks to goodness, and that how people in the 21st century can look to organized religion as a form of morality, as a form of justice, and a form of goodness flies in the face of so much legal and real data, which shows just the opposite.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
I just get really pissed off with this stuff.
In fact, the next item refers to that very data. You mentioned religion and morality. Mm-hmm. Take a look at this. That's from Pew Research. And what they've done is interviewed the usual number of people. It's over 1,000, selected from all over the US and all through the demographic. And the results show that the majority of adults, not only in the US, but in other countries with advanced economies, agree that it is not necessary to believe in God to have good values.
You see this as a poll. You see this as a poll. I see this as a simple test, like a scholastic test with one clear, obviously right answer. And we're just looking at the scores that people are getting. I'm seeing a lot of A's. I think Singapore could use some help, but that's still a passing C. Good job, all up religiously unaffiliated people. There's some D's and F's. There's some D's and F's here that are concerning. In fact, I think the highest score is Sweden, which I'm not surprised by, but literally everybody else, C's and D's, barely passing. They need to work on
it. Yeah. Sweden's 86%.
I am shocked
we can be good without God.
Religiously unaffiliated. I think that's just so America. It's like we're not even unaffiliated and we still disagree with ourselves. I'm like, okay, we still got one. Fair enough.
Yeah,
but we'll take that.
Yes, it's down to 56%. in the US, whereas Australia is 75%. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to skip an item now, which is another story about the US, where in Texas they're doing their usual stuff.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Singapore is Muslim,
Okay.
or Singapore is largely Muslim, so it's interesting to see that as well. It's not just when they say religiously; it's affecting both Christian and religious or Islamic dominated countries as well. That's good to see.
Yeah. Singapore's a mixed bag, I think. Yeah. So Texas Republicans are doing their usual stuff, trying to increase religion's presence in the state schools. And I'm going to skip over that because it's just, same old, same old. I want to talk to you about the coronation, because it's next Saturday. And I think we'll still have Global Atheist News that night. And although we won't have a free thought hour, because I don't think we could compete with what's being put on outside Buckingham Palace, with all the world's best stars. But and that means, because we have a Global Atheist News, that means if you're available, we will also have a Views on the News on the Sunday, the 7th of March. But this is really good news. Listen to this. Fragments said to be from the cross on which Jesus was crucified will be included in a newly made Cross of Wales, which is going to be used at the head of the coronation procession in Westminster Abbey. Aren't you relieved to hear that we've got this fabulous antique symbol to march behind?
I have a toothpick from the Last Supper. If you never know.
I mean,
Nice.
there are enough splinters of the true cross to make up half a dozen.
Yeah.
Entered into in the from about 400 onwards, where the locals just sold gullible tourists bits of the true cross. The whole thing is completely crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
The saddest part is, like, people keep forgetting Jesus hates crosses. That's the last thing he's going to want to see when he comes back. He's like, oh my gosh, I hate those. What is that around your neck? I hate those things. Ew, stop it. Get rid of them. I came back as a dove. Where's the doves at? Where's my doves?
Guys, you've been wonderful. That's it. Thank you very much. Wave goodbye.
Thank you. Be well.
I've got a new outro, by the way. Look at this new outro. It's got a little bit on the end. Take a look.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the Caribbean drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say